Taking back the airwaves for Jesus. This is Sage Radio, and you're tuning in to What's Up, where we talk about life and everything else around the metro. Kuya Daniel here. What's up sa inyo, mga kaligtas? For tonight, we have a very special guest and a very talented one. Here's Roi Caluya. Hello, bro.
Hi, yeah, hello.
Yeah, I was very amazed now in your decorations sa likod. Like you have a mic, you have a drum set. Is it a electronic drum set or is it a standard drum set, man?
Yeah, so what you see or what you kind of can see behind it's fully ano po, it's a fully standard acoustic drum set.
Oh, cool. So when you say it's acoustic drum set, ano yung like maybe may mga nanonood sa ating part of the music ministry. So what's the difference between an acoustic drum set and a standard drum set? Pretty random question.
Sorry, did you mean acoustic and electric?
Pwede rin. Or maybe may difference ba pag acoustic drum set?
Yeah, so pretty much ano po, pag acoustic drum set, your sounds are being produced organically, if
Mhm.
that's a good term to use, by the drum heads and the cymbals.
Mhm.
So it's not a digital sound. So
Wow.
whereas if you have an electronic drum set, it's triggering audio files each time you hit. So patches that are
Ah.
saved onto the drums that are triggered whenever you hit the surface of the drum. Pero pag acoustic po, natural po yung sound.
Ah. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Ganun pala siya kasi we had a drum set before. So, but I don't know how to play the drums. So, unfortunately, we have to sell those. But speaking of drums, you are well known in social media as a person who, plays cover of drums. And we're going to talk about that in a bit. But my first question for you, Roy, is your salvation story. So, how did you met the Lord Jesus Christ?
um, that's a pretty interesting question every time I'm asked because it makes me reflect on my life. But because I'm part of that group of Christians where we did have that one instantaneous moment of receiving the Lord.
Mhm.
Which is that's something that I kind of grew up being a little bit jealous of. But ako po kasi, I grew up in church. So my
Ah.
parents were already in church. Um, and so the way I came to know Jesus as, my Lord and Savior, pretty much it was a journey. It was a
Mhm.
process of because when you grow up in church, you're given truths
Mhm.
and you don't really have that chance yet to figure out how to absorb that for yourself.
Mhm. Yeah.
Whereas there are a lot of Christians where they can recall one specific moment where like, oh yeah, God called me that time and my life turned around 180 degrees. Ako po kasi growing up in church, it was more so a slow process of as I grew older, my faith in God was built
Mhm.
simultaneously while I was
Mhm.
growing up as well. So, but then I would say that I really, really came to know Him more as my Lord and Savior. Siguro po nung around late high school and early college, those were the most important years in my faith where um, my sister was really ministering, trying to introduce to me that, you know, this isn't just some kind of practice routine thing.
Mhm.
Your faith has to do with a relationship.
Yeah.
And so once that idea was planted, I spent my college years really figuring out who Jesus was in my life.
Mhm.
And so I came to know him during those years where I guess I would say I'm thankful that the Lord was gracious enough to make himself more known.
Mhm.
He revealed more and more of himself to me. So that's how I got to know. Yeah.
It's nice. And I think I can relate to you because I grew up also in church. So parang you're parang over familiarity with almost every
Yeah.
Bible story. But the real challenge comes when you step into college. Usually, ganun
Yeah.
yung yung nangyari. Parang, where's this coming from? Where's this logic coming from? Yung mga ganong challenges in life. And I want to ask din pala, where do you serve right now? Is it the current church pa rin, the same church?
Yeah. So right now I had just come home from Sydney. So for three
Oh,
years I was in Australia serving with Hillsong Church with their
oh
college.
wow.
And yeah, but coming home now, being in a very specific season and context in my life here in Baguio, I'm currently right now involved again with the local Methodist church here
Mhm,
in Baguio. So
mhm.
I help out um, with their worship team. So I help
Wow.
out with the because now our church is it's in a season of rebuilding a new team, starting from
Mhm,
scratch. Puro bata po ulit. Kasi
mhm,
nga po, yun nga, just the cycle of the worship team. A lot of them have gotten older and have moved on to different areas in their lives, and now
mhm,
it's time to start planting again with the younger generation. So,
mhm.
yun po. Giving drum lessons, helping out with worship rehearsal, and the youth.
Cool. So speaking of drum lessons, uh, sino yung matuturuan mo? Maybe kids or college students or everyone?
Ano po, right now, yung mga students po that I handle, most of them are high schoolers. They're young high
Hmm.
school students, but I have had students that were in college. And right now, one of the other drummers that I still kind of mentor is currently working already. So
Ah. So what's
as
the name
long
of
as
the
they're
church? Ah,
sorry, yeah.
yeah. So sorry,
Um,
sorry.
no, you're good. As long as they're like eager to learn, even if they're 50 years old, like I'd be game to impart whatever I know. Pero ano po, the name of the church that I'm currently involved with here right now in Baguio is Baguio City First United Methodist Church.
Baguio City First Methodist Church.
Yeah.
Ah. Siguro di na kayo nag-aircon diyan.
Ay, hindi
It's
na po.
very parang it's like
Hindi
a
na po.
decoration na lang in the church. Parang, okay, in case of emergency.
Yeah.
In Manila, it's a very different world.
Mm.
Aircon is like our necessity next to water. Ayan.
Yeah.
So speaking of Hillsong College, since very amazed now you studied at Hillsong College. What's the experience of studying at Hillsong College? And do you have any maybe interactions with the Hillsong team or even played in Hillsong?
Yeah, so my whole experience in college was pretty life-changing.
Mhm,
Um, I guess in general, when you're removed from your home country that you've known all your life and you're suddenly alone
mhm.
in a foreign country, I would say that that's really fertile ground for God to do some amazing stuff in your life and in your heart now that you've been abstracted from everything you call home. But it was an incredible experience because I guess just being immersed in that culture
Mhm,
because it like we're one big church throughout the globe, so church capital C, but it's nice to see how the Spirit and Jesus and faith, God, how our love for Him and how we worship Him. It's nice to see how that's expressed differently in
mhm,
different areas. So being in Sydney, I was able to see up close and personal um how the church community was like for
mm,
Hillsong in Sydney.
mm,
And yeah, it was incredible that I got to learn from a lot of their leaders, a lot of the amazing individuals that were there. In terms of like their worship and their worship members, the crazy thing is, if I can be honest,
mhm,
kasi pag nasa Pilipinas po tayo, um, I remember growing up and you kind of like you really super look up to the Hillsong
yeah, yeah.
team, especially like me as a young teenage drummer. I'm like,
Mhm.
wow, oh my gosh, Hillsong. And then every time with Becca Music, whenever there would be concerts like Young and Free, Worship United
Mhm,
in Araneta, parang, oh my gosh, grabe
mm.
Hillsong. But it's crazy because when you're actually there in the hills area where they are in Sydney, you realize that these incredible worship leaders that you look up to, they're regular people. So in
Mm,
college, we were encouraged that like you could just go up to them. For example, prominent or some of the known worship leaders ng United or worship, you could literally just walk up to them and be like, "Hi, can we grab a cup of coffee? I would really just love to learn from your life story or from your
wow.
experiences." So that was pretty cool. I personally didn't have a lot of that because I was too timid. So, kasi nga, my Filipino self was like, grabe, pinapanood lang kita sa Araneta ngayon, tapos ngayon, you're grocery shopping in front of me. But yeah, I was involved more so with one of their smaller locations.
Mhm.
So, usually when we think of Hillsong, we think of the big mother church. But the crazy thing is that when you're actually there, you realize that there's a lot of just real life church scenarios that they go through as well. So I was
Mhm.
involved with one of their smaller campuses where I got to help out with the worship and creative team too. So yeah.
Mm. So what's the name of the specific course that you studied at Hillsong College?
So yeah, my specific course during my time in college was it was the advanced diploma in ministry. So that
Mhm.
was the big umbrella vocational course that I took. So a
Mhm.
diploma in ministry, and then my specific focus was worship music. So they call it streams, parang streams, yung
Mhm.
major mo dun. But my stream there was the worship music stream.
Mm. That's very interesting. Maybe kasi may mga kaligtas tayo who wants to study at Hillsong College
Yeah.
and they want to know what the course is all about. And siguro, can you give us like a short description or your short experience at Hillsong College? What will they expect when they're going to study at Hillsong College?
Okay. Um. Yeah. So what to expect if you want to study in Hillsong College? I think a key word
Mhm.
with what you're going to take home is leadership.
Mhm.
It formerly it was known as Hillsong. I think Hillsong International Leadership College, HILC. But yeah, it's just called Hillsong College now. But the main thing that they really impart to their students,
Mhm.
aside from what you can learn in your theology classes, your worship classes, production classes, film classes, dance, but the main thing that they leave with you is leadership, and
Mhm.
it's leadership that has to do with it's like three tiers of leadership. So leading yourself, personal leadership, leading a team, so
Mhm.
team leadership, and then the even bigger one, which is leading other leaders.
Mhm.
So they help you understand your relationship with Christ more, and also in a context where your ability to lead other people wherever you're serving and into faith is it's sharpened. So yeah, that's what
Mm.
you can expect. So leadership is the main thing, and then everything else is just a natural expression. So for example, if you're interested in worship music, there are worship music courses. If you're interested in audio and music production or film and TV, there are
Mhm.
courses too.
So
But yeah,
they're more focused on developing leaders who can also make
yeah,
leaders as well. So it's like
yeah,
disciple making, if you can
yeah,
say.
pretty much so.
Ah, that's cool. Well, have you used your, course and maybe also your leadership to lead in your church right now in your church lately?
Yeah, so um right now with the church that I'm involved with, um I was with this church prior to going to Australia,
Mhm.
and then coming back now that I'm in Baguio for this season of my life. I guess God has led me to be with them again.
Mhm.
But what I've learned from my stay in Sydney and my journey with God there, and I guess the leadership that was developed in that area, I'm glad that a lot of my perspective towards faith and ministering to other people and ministering to other Christians, I'm happy that I can now take that perspective and hopefully, in the most healthy and positive way, use that in my current context with the church now.
Yeah. Was it ano ba when you came back to Baguio and then of course your family, you're united with your family and now you're going to your church. Meron bang parang like the crowd would say, "Oh, nag-aral ka sa Hillsong College?" Parang ano experience? Do you have that kind of reception like when you came back na parang, "Wow, ano ka na ba? Hillsong Philippines?" Yung mga ganun bang impressions?
Yeah, so actually nga po, the first thing they tell you when you come back home is, I didn't even know Hillsong had a college. Parang yun nga po, parang nag-aral ka sa Hillsong, 'di ba worship team yun or 'di ba church po yun? But yeah, yun nga po, they do mention that, "Oh, you come from Hillsong." Um, but yeah, so I don't know if this is relevant too, but kasi nga po, while we were in Sydney,
Mhm.
we did come up with a ministry like the Filipino community.
Oh,
So
wow.
that's called Manila Connect.
Hmm.
So that's where a lot of Hillsong College and Hillsong Church, the Filipino expression of it, especially for the members that are in Manila in BGC, that's where they currently serve. And it's a community that I am still part of. And my goal is to, like, yeah, one day be able to help out with them more. But right now,
Mhm.
not really stuck, but I'm in Baguio. So yun po.
Mm. Alright. So, and now let's later on we're gonna talk about Manila Connect more. So let's talk about more of your music creation. So,
Yeah.
where did all this start? Yung like you're doing drums, covers of different kinds of songs. So where did it start, and how did it start, and why did you start it?
Okay. Ano po, I guess it started when I was a kid.
Mhm.
Um, when my sister and I were still in elementary, she had already started taking piano lessons.
Mhm.
And so my mom was like, "Yeah, magpiano ka na rin." And I had maybe 1 or 2 lessons, and 2 lessons in, I was like, "Ayoko na. Hindi 'to para sa akin." I didn't, because being the kid I was back then, parang mas cool mas
Mm,
cool na maggitara nun, eh. Parang
mm,
all the cool kids in school were playing the guitar, or all
mm,
my friends. But then a part of me was like, I wanted to do something different.
mhm,
And the first thing that came to my mind was drums.
mhm.
Siguro mga grade 4 po ako nun. Grade 4, 2004, wow. Long, long ago.
Wow.
Um, yeah, I I don't know, maybe it probably was a God thing, but yeah, I was drawn more to the drums kasi iba yung appeal niya sa akin
Mm,
na mas iba yung vibe of learning the drum. So that was me as a kid. And then I spent siguro the next 3, 4 years after that, officially learning with a music school, like a small
oh.
music school in Baguio
Mhm,
with a drum teacher. But when my drum teacher was called to go abroad to do cruise ships, I kind of had to figure out drumming by myself from then on. So, and then my involvement, because I was getting older, and then the youth group in church was starting to tap me na, "Uy, sumali ka naman." So
mhm,
my growth had started to shift towards the church as well. So I was called to help with the worship team. Tapos dun na po nag-start, and ever since, so that's 2004, it's 2022 now. I haven't stopped playing the drums since. It's been a roller coaster of learning and experiencing and growing with other musicians. But this whole where I am at now, in terms of wanting to record and wanting
mhm,
to produce music, that was something that more so came as a natural progression with my
mhm,
drumming journey na. Kasi nung bata po ako, every time I'd see like my favorite drummers on YouTube, I would think, "Oh man, I wish I could record drums too." And
hmm.
then as a kid, researching, nung nagre-research na po, sobrang mahal po pala ng gamit. So it's only now that I'm entering more so my adulthood,
Yeah.
kunwaring adulthood, that God has allowed finances to align more, and He's
Mhm,
opened opportunities for me to be able to buy equipment. He's blessed
mhm,
me. So it's been like 2 decades worth of dreaming to record drums that now I'm
mhm,
finally able to do it, because I've only been able to get this chance recently.
mhm,
So and then my heart for doing this now shifted, because before it was just like, yeah, let's record because it's cool.
mhm,
I want to be able to review my own playing and my music ability. But now, kind of where I'm at with God is everything that has to do with my music, it's kind of something that I want to use to serve Him or
Mhm.
to reach out to someone. It can be to help reach out to a young Christian or an older Christian, someone who's been on their faith walk for years, someone who's only met
Mhm.
Jesus yesterday. But I kind of just wanted a specific space in music where I could reach out to other people. Because, other
Mhm.
people have a lot of gifts in the church. They can preach, they can evangelize, and all of that. I, between me and God, I feel like where I fit in the most doing work for His kingdom has a lot to do with music. In
Mhm.
the sense where, like right now, so recording, put some random cover out there and hopefully someone sees it. And
Mhm.
there's a side that, yeah, it's so that um it can help pay the bills, but more so my dream one day is to be able to expand this whole music thing beyond just drumming and producing music, but as a means where I can invite non-believers or young Christians to be like, hey,
Mhm.
this is a cool thing that we can do. And without
Mhm.
them realizing it, it's actually
Mhm.
something that can help bring them closer to Jesus. So,
Mhm.
yeah.
Praise God for your talent and the content that you do to serve the Lord. There are a lot of and dami na eh. Like maybe you're familiar with a lot of drummers on YouTube that does content. They would play the beat of a certain song for the sake of for a content or show, but there are only a handful of Christian musicians that wanted to serve God and to make covers for His glory. And siguro sidetrack lang, just one question. Who's your favorite drummer?
Oh, wow. That is a very, very difficult question to answer. Um, I, I, I guess if I can break it down to two,
Sige lang, no
two na lang
problem.
po. So, my favorite drummer within the church context
Mhm,
right
sige.
now, like as a worship drummer, he's one of Hillsong's drummers. So his name is Harrison Wood.
Mhm,
And I love how he plays. They call him Harry in Australia or in Hillsong. And I guess I love him because he's a great drummer, but he's an incredible musician overall. Like you'll see him randomly play the keys on Instagram too, and then he produces music. So that's kind of one of my biggest inspirations. But in terms
mhm.
of pure, like a pure drummer, who comes to mind now?
Just one.
Just one. Right now, I think it would have to be. He's a I don't know if people are familiar with him. Very low key. His name is JP Bube.
Mhm,
But yeah, so JP, he's not really like one of the famous drummers.
mhm,
He's one of I think we're roughly the same age, but he graduated from Berkeley,
mhm,
the music school, and I guess I just love his whole philosophy behind how he plays. Like
mhm,
he took he's very introspective, if that's the right term for it.
mhm,
And he looked at his playing, all of his weaknesses, and he got good enough with his weaknesses to the point where he could teach others
mm.
what he was weak in, which to me
Yeah.
is crazy. So I take inspiration from that, where in my areas of weakness, anywhere in life, I kind of want God to fill that space
Yeah.
so that where I was weak, now He is strong, and I can take that and
Mm.
impact someone else's life with it. So yeah,
Yeah, like
yeah,
it says in the Bible, 'di ba? When we are weak, He is strong. So
yeah,
that we could be strong in serving. Ayan. So
yeah.
quickly lang din, is it only drums that you know how to play? Or maybe you know some instruments that you can also play?
That's a good question. So proficiently, I would say that on a level that I'm comfortable showing other people, I
Mhm.
play the drums. But then maybe on a if you have no other choice and you need someone to play guitar because your guitar player is out and you need to lead worship on Sunday,
Mm.
like I'll fill in that spot. But then yeah, and then siguro po, like just for theory, wise, I kind of have to learn, not really have to, but I challenged myself to start learning keys because it's very
Mhm,
useful in the music production context. Pero,
mhm.
yun nga po. Drums is my main thing. Like, it's my first love. But yeah, because of my music production context too, I've challenged myself to pick up the guitar and the keyboard too, just so that I can help reach out to more people and what they
Yeah.
need.
Yeah. That's great. Now, maybe Roy, some of our kaligtas would ask this question. Maybe they are part of the music ministry, or they are, they wanted to have a great drum or a great worship experience inside the church. So there's a question here that is there a right way to play drums for church, or is there a right way to have a church worship setup for drums or any other musical instrument we can say?
Yeah, that's actually a really, really good question. Now that in where I'm currently at in my music journey,
Mhm.
um, my answer to that is a little bit, it's not as simple. I would say yes and no, but yeah, I would say yes. There's a specific worship style, especially with our current context as a church with worship today
Mhm.
and the worship music that we seek to bring out and we seek to play in church, which is heavily influenced by the big churches that we see.
Mhm.
I would say that worship or contemporary Christian music, it's a very specific genre of music right now where there are nuances that a worship drummer has. So there's, in that sense, for example, in today's context, Christian music in the drums is now very heavy for the listeners or the viewers that
Mhm.
understand. It's very heavy on the tom because from what I've learned during my stay in Sydney, kind of how we worship now, it's kind of like going to spiritual warfare.
Mhm.
And so now how drummers play worship music, it's heavy on the toms because it's kind of like going to war. How the drums were used back then in history for battle, where it's a very, it's yeah, it's that's the best way I could put it.
Mhm.
It's going to war. Whereas with previous worship genres, it's a little bit more groove heavy. So
Mhm.
you would hear drummers playing on the kick drum, the snare, and the hi hats with patterns and grooves. But now we do a lot of build. So for
Mm.
those of you who are in your worship teams, you know what I'm talking about. Where it's very, very dynamic. And I think it's a wonderful reflection of like just, yeah, going through spiritual warfare and just
Mhm.
that intense atmosphere, but also very prophetic and a very spirit filled atmosphere of
Mhm.
just playing through your instrument. But also at the same time, I would say that there isn't a specific style because so it's 50-50. They're both equally true to me and you can take um, what would resonate with you. But I would also argue that there shouldn't be a specific style because, like, it's worship.
Mm.
So worship is you offering yourself up to God, you attributing who God is and His worth, and you just blessing His name and you just lifting that up to Him. So I don't think that should be confined to a specific style.
Mhm.
That because any like whatever you do, whether you eat, drink, do it for God, do it in worship. Well, in that context, there's no specific drum style. But then, if you were to consider um, the current phase of the church today, yes, there is a specific way to play the drums for worship music. I hope that made sense.
Yeah, yeah, it did. And I think I can connect to this question. Like maybe you can. People wanted to talk to you. People wanted to connect with you, and they wanted to know more about the not only the spiritual but also the technical side of playing the drums or maybe music production. So maybe you have details, or you can show your info where they can connect with you, and also your content that you're doing covers.
Yeah. So right now, I'm trying to grow I'm trying to grow my profile as a musician.
Mhm,
If you want to get connected or find me right now, my main social media account for
mhm,
music is on Instagram. It's at Roi Caluya Music. It's on Instagram, but that's where I post, or I've started to post, because I'm still trying to grow it. Expect, if you are interested in following or getting connected, or just, yeah, chatting me up just for whatever random questions, that's where you can find me. It's it's my space to put everything music in my life.
mhm,
So if it has something to do with drums, or recording audio, or producing music for someone else, or producing my own music, or
mhm.
doing drum covers, you can find me there. So yeah, on Instagram at Roy Caluya Music.
All right. Well, Roy, time is gold, but thank you so much for being with us. It's really the time that we had turned into gold because it was really a great time and a pleasure to be with you all the way from where you are right now. Thank you, Roy. I forgot to ask this question. What's your favorite Hillsong track?
Track.
Uh,
My favorite Hillsong track is right now.
mhm.
It's not really old, but it's a song called No One. No One But You, or No One. Yeah, No
Iba,
One by
iba yung no one,
Hillsong
parang
Worship.
Alicia Keys yun.
No One But You. I think that's the fuller, yeah, but I just love the chord progression behind it.
No one but
It
you.
resonates. Yeah,
Yeah, all right, all right. Thank you.
Hillsong
Thank you,
Worship.
Roy. Sige, I'll look that up in our library.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And lastly, Roy, like we always do on Sage Radio, so can you see the logo in the back? Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. So we often let our guests would read the our logo. So example. So I could do it for you. Example, I'm Roy Caluya and this is Sage Radio. We're taking back the airwaves for Jesus. Well, can you do that for us, Roy?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sure. One, two, three. Take it away.
Yeah. So I'm Roy Caluya. This is Saved Radio. We're taking back the airwaves for Jesus.
Thank you so much, Roy, and may the Lord bless you in all you do. And I hope you can visit the booth soon, so we can play some drums and we can play some music for Jesus.
Yeah, that would be great.
Thank you, mga kaligtas, and I hope you had a great time. And this is Sage Radio. We're taking back the airwaves for Jesus.